Hi everybody and welcome to Season 76 of Bearcat Update. For today, I'll be updating you on how the seasons are looking for our spring sports. From the baseball win streak, the final standings for track and field, and everything in between. We got a lot to cover, so let's get right into it. We're going to start off today's show with breaking news. After a year to remember at Drake University, former Northwest men's head basketball coach Ben Mccollum is officially finalizing a deal to become the next Iowa Hawkeyes men's basketball head coach. During last season, Mccollum landed as a Naismith Coach of the Year finalist, as well as upsetting the University of Missouri in the opening round of March Madness. For Bearcat fans, it felt like only a matter of time until the four-time national champion head coach took his talents to the top of the college game. At just 43 years old, he now heads to what many believed to be his dream school. In other news, on Friday night, guard Marcus Glock entered his name into the transfer portal. His freshman season saw him average over 9 points a game, as well as nailing over 40% of his shots beyond the arc. As he evaluates his options, it leaves us to wonder if he'll attempt to reunite with Ben Mccollum, who initially recruited him out of high school. Now, back to regular programming. The baseball team started their week off hot after a huge win against number 3 ranked Central Missouri. This is their first win against a top 5 opponent since 2021 and their first time winning against the Mules since 2018. Brock Stiegel led the Bearcats pitching staff, throwing a career-high 7 strikeouts in 7 innings pitched. Northwest bats were also on fire in the 5th inning, scoring 4 runs, leading to a 6-3 victory. The Bearcats started their 3-game series against Arkansas Fort Smith Friday in a weekend focused on the Padawans. In Game 1 of the series, the Lions led the Bearcats for the first 4 innings 1-0, and Northwest made some offensive tweaks, leading them to an 18-8 run rule in the 8th. Game 2 sealed the Bearcats' 4th series win against the Lions. Northwest started the game trailing 2-0 until an electric 5th inning, leading to their 5-2 win. We wish Northwest luck as they play their last game of the series today. The softball team split its series against Central Missouri on Tuesday. In Game 1, the Jennies took an early 5-1 lead that the Bearcats couldn't recover from. Northwest cut the deficit to 5-3 in the 4th, but both teams were held scoreless the rest of the game. In Game 2, the Bearcats finally snapped their 7-game losing streak after taking an early 4-1 lead against the Jennies. Northwest cushioned their lead, winning 7-1 against Central Missouri. The Bearcats split their doubleheader against Nebraska Kearney on Saturday. In Game 1, the Lopers led the Bearcats through 4 innings until the Cats retook the lead 3-2 in the 6th. Unfortunately, they couldn't hold on to the lead, losing 4-3. Northwest bats were on fire in Game 2, though, after putting up 10 hits and 9 runs. Jaden Striegel led the Bearcats after pitching a shutout, sealing the Bearcats' 9-0 win. Northwest plays a doubleheader today against Fort Hays. Good luck to the Bearcats. The men's and women's tennis teams had successful weeks after both teams secured wins against Arkansas Fort Smith on Friday. The women's team opened their home schedule with a 6-1 victory against the Lions. Unfortunately, they couldn't keep the momentum going against Southwest Baptist, losing 4-3. The men's tennis team secured their 4th straight win this week after their 4-3 victory against the Lions and a 5-2 win against Southwest Baptist. Both teams will face Southern Arkansas on Thursday. Good luck to both teams. The women's golf team started their season by placing 5th at the Midwest Intercollegiate held at Mules National Golf Course. Freshman Lauren Briggs shot +18, tying for 4th place. This was her first top 10 and top 5 finish in her career. Freshman Lexi Bartley followed right behind her, shooting a +23 with 2 birdies and a tie for 11th place. Senior Paige Hoffman finished in 15th place, shooting +24 with 5 birdies. Madeline Schlepfer finished 62nd and Kayla Moline 65th. The Bearcats remain ranked number 11 in the Central Region. Northwest will play their next tournament on March 24th and 25th at the Hardscrabble Invitational held at Hardscrabble Country Club in Fort Smith, Arkansas. The men's track team had its highest finish in the NCAA championship since 1987 after a 5th place finish with 30 points. The women's team scored 4 points, tying for 36th place, and the Bearcats earned a total of 20 All-American honors at the tournament. Junior Truman Hare placed 4th nationally in the 400 meter after his spectacular time of 47.10 seconds. Senior Maxine Torin finished 5th nationally in the 800 meter after running a minute 49. As the indoor season winds down, the outdoor season is just beginning. The Bearcats will head to the ESU Relays on March 27th to kick off their season. Good luck to both teams. Hey, it's halftime. If you like what you see, make sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell to be the first to know when we post new content. As we take our first break of the show, stick with us as we throw things over to KZLX. We'll be right back.
Kirsten, what are you doing here?
What do you think I'm doing here? Making TikToks? And it's not about what I do. It's about what we do here. So we start with storyboarding the content we want to create for our clients. It could be anyone from small businesses, nonprofits, and organizations both on campus and in the Maryville community. We write, we film, we edit, we create, and then we wait. So if you're someone who thinks you need us, we are KNWT Creative Services.
Hey, you.
Me? What?
Can you cook?
I think.
Can you break a world record?
I bet I could try.
Can you take on the wildest, most viral trends?
I think so. Well, in KNU, we take on the challenges and trends you're dying to try out. Whether it's physical,
mental,
Red light.
or just downright crazy.
Green light.
Think you have what it takes? Tune in Thursdays at noon to find out. Can you?
We're going to turn the dial a bit here from X106.7. I'm Wiley Ray. Let's get right into it. Cue that intro. The Drake Bulldogs stunned the Missouri Tigers in the opening round of the 2025 men's college basketball tournament. Drake shooting 54% from the field, as Mizzou shooting 33% from the field. A slow night for the Tigers and a fiery night for the Drake Bulldogs. And highlighting some of the Drake Bulldogs were 4 of their 5 starters were former Bearcats that we've talked about all season. But first, before we get to that, Drake, 31 rebounds to Missouri's 26. A lot of fans and a lot of broadcasters thought that this was going to be where Mizzou wins the category, and the Bulldogs obviously out-rebound the Tigers 31-26. But 4 former Bearcats found themselves in the first opening round starting, and here's how they played. Daniel Abreu, 4 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Isaiah Jackson finding himself 3 points, 4 boards, and 3 dimes. Mitch Muscari, 6 points, 3 boards, 3 assists. And Bennett Sturtz, the Larry Bird Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year and honorable mention All-American, 21 points, 1 rebound, 4 assists. But even though the Bearcats season here in Maryville is over, our producer Killian Beck is going to jump in and break down the beginning of McCollum's dynastic run here in Maryville. Take it away, Killian.
On March 26, 2022, the Northwest Missouri State Bearcats beat Augusta to become the first Division II program to win 3 consecutive championships. All of this started March 30th, 2009, when the program hired former Bearcat Ben Mccollum as the 20th head coach in Northwest history. But the Bearcats weren't always title favorites. Through the first 2 years of McCollum's tenure, they had just a 22-31 record, and it looked like the former Emporia State assistant wasn't the man for the job. But in 2012, something clicked, and McCollum had worked his magic, starting off 9-0 and beating a Division I opponent in the UMKC Kangaroos. he had done it. The Bearcats were back to being a force in the MIAA, and with a bounce-back 22-7 record and an NCAA tournament invite, the Bearcats we are familiar with began to take shape. By 2015, the Bearcats had made back-to-back Sweet 16 appearances and were just about to make a meteoric rise. Before the 2016-17 season, the seeds of a dynasty to come were planted as the Bearcats signed zero-star power forward Ryan Hawkins. After the last-second loss to Augustana in the Sweet 16, the Bearcats opened the year white-hot as they scorched their way to 24 consecutive victories to open the year, finishing 26-1 on the regular season. After cruising through the MIAA tournament, the Bearcats exercised demons as they demolished Augustana on their way to their first-ever national championship. Despite the first-round loss in the following season, another seed of the dynasty to come was planted as unranked guard Trevor Hudgens stood out in an AAU tournament, while McCollum himself was there. Shortly after the 2017-18 season concluded, another future record breaker was added to the fold as the dynasty was just about to take shape and unfold in front of our eyes. With the signing of Diego Bernard, Northwest had unknowingly created the Big Three that would forever change Northwest and Division II history.
Welcome back, and now we're going to head to the film room as it's time for my favorite segment of this show, Ray's Plays and Highlights. This week we're going to take a further look into Drake's opening round win against Missouri. Let's take a look at play number 1 right here. As you see, this one is more of a rebounding play for the Bulldogs, and Isaiah Jackson incorporating 1 of 31 total rebounds for Drake, opening up to a Bennett Sturts opposite hand layup, and Sturts does a good job of moving right to left. But let's break this down a little bit more. As you see, 3 Bulldogs, 4 Tigers, and the play goes wild. It's a broken play, but Jackson, with the integrity and the grind he has, it's only early in this ball game. You still got a lot of gas in that tank. You got to go in, you got to get a rebound. And as we take a break right here, as you see, there's a loose ball, and you have 2 guys. You're always taking 2 back on defense in case, but you got 5 Tigers right here who should be getting that rebound. Now, if you're Missouri, that seems like a piece of cake, but let this play roll here a little bit more for me. As you see, Jackson gets that rebound. Mizzou off-balanced defensively, ultimately leading for Bennett Sturts to drive with that right hand and going up with that left hand. Now, let's take a look at our second play here, as this one is a big scoring play for the Bulldogs, and this one really just kind of let things fly for Drake. Bennett Sturts finds himself at the top of the key, 5 seconds left on the shot clock. This has been the key to success for Drake this season. Drake, 398 shots with 5 seconds or less on the shot clock. The team in second place, 150 shots less with 5 seconds left on the shot clock. So you know Drake likes to chew the clock. They like to wind the game down, and ultimately that means they can play with anyone, because you obviously have a shot clock in college compared to some high schools, so you can sit here and chew it down, but you got to make those shots matter. And in this one, you give it to Bennett Sturts, you find it. But let's take a farther look into this one, and I want to dive farther into this. Stop it right here. So as you see, you take a look right here. Sturts, yes, this is your one look, your key shot if you are Drake. Then you have Jackson right here as your second option, and then Abreu to swing it around from Jackson to Abreu. That's your third option. Ultimately, Mascari being your fourth. And as you see, you got Coach McCollum saying, hey, you got Mitch over here to your right. You might want to pass it to him, look it to him, but you got Caleb Grill with Mizzou here playing tight defense on Mascari, because he knows Mascari will pull up with less than 5 on the shot clock, just like Bennett Sturts did right here. And Bennett Sturts let this play roll out with a left-handed 3, shooting it like it's a half-court heave. Nothing but ice in Sturts' veins. Let's take a look at the third play and final play of Drake's win over Mizzou. And this one, flashy and just beautiful. Great chemistry, just the icing on the cake if you're the Bulldogs. Mascari does a good job getting around his defender. What could have been a foul late ultimately leads to a great play. And if you're in the tournament and you see something like this with a minute left in the game, up by 6, anything can happen, especially against a second-half team like Missouri. You need anything to go your way. And this one, Mascari does a good job of maintaining the ball, finding Sturts with the alley-oop and the slam, and the Drake Bulldogs slam their way to victory in this one. This has been another edition of BCU with the X. We'll be back in a week. Next up, we're going to send it to Jaden Varner as he runs down next week's Bearcat schedule. Take it away, Jaden.
Welcome back to Next Week in Bearcat Sports. I'm your host, Jaden Varner.
And I'm Reece Hill.
And we're finally back from our still frame prisons to bring you all the information about the Bearcats' upcoming schedule. Let's look at baseball and softball, shall we? Softball is in Hays, Kansas today, taking on the Fort Hays State Tigers in a doubleheader. They'll be looking to finish out their road trip with a nice pair of wins. The Bearcats will be home Friday, and after a winless homestand just over a week ago, they'll have another chance to get their first home win of the season. They'll take on Central Oklahoma in a doubleheader on Friday and Newman in a doubleheader on Saturday. Keep an eye out for Lily Filger. The senior outfielder has taken over the team's top batting average this season, passing the likes of Omara Love and Alexis Brown. Coach Naomi Tellis is going to need all three to keep it up, however, as the team is looking to find its stride with April quickly approaching. I'd give a prediction, but that sounds more like a Reece thing.
Baseball is enjoying a nice 3-game winning streak after scoring a big upset over number 3 ranked Central Missouri on Tuesday and swiping the first 2 games of the series against Arkansas Fort Smith. Kehu Kai Young was the one that stole the show, batting in 2 runs in Game 1 and tacking on 3 more in Game 2. They'll finish up the series later today, meaning I can confidently say that at the very least, the Bearcats will take 2 of 3. Anyway, after today, the Bearcats take on William Jewell at home on Tuesday, then head to St. Joe on Wednesday to take on the dreaded Griffins. They'll finish out the week at home, taking on Rogers State in a 3-game series. Game 1 starts at 3 p.m. on Friday.
As for predictions for the upcoming games, Reece, what are you expecting here?
Beat the Griffins!
Well, can't argue with that. As always, make sure to go out and support your Bearcats. That's all we have for you this week. We'll see you next week.
Back to you, Jason.
Thanks, guys. But before we head out, we're going to take a trip down memory lane. Before we get into that, though, we're going to take our second and final break of the show. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Bearcat Update. Let's take a look into Bearcat Past. Earlier this season, we talked about the success of wide receiver Luke Matthews and how he measures up against receivers of Bearcat Past. As recently as 2021, the Bearcats produced a receiver to the NFL, as in Kaden Davis's senior season, he led the charge with 10 touchdowns and over 700 yards. He was a part of a Bearcat team that would go on to win 11 games and advance to the NCAA quarterfinals. Since that impressive season with the Bearcats, Davis has found himself in a multitude of NFL opportunities. He has been a member of 4 teams. He is currently a member of the Cleveland Browns as they await the 2025 season debut. Just like last week, we're going to talk about a pillar of the Bearcat men's basketball dynasty. It was forward Ryan Hawkins that helped guide the Bearcats to the elusive three-peat. Along with the team's success, it was Hawkins that stood out on his own after he broke the single-season rebounding record after it had stood for over 50 years. He would tack on an MIAA Defensive Player of the Year award for good measure. Though he wouldn't finish his career with the Bearcats, he left as the all-time leading rebounder, as well as being 4th in points. After his storied career with the Bearcats, he transferred to Creighton University, where he would help them to an opening round victory in the 2022 March Madness. For more depth on his career in green, we're going to send it over to Ryan King as he gives us the rundown.
Ryan Hawkins was once just a kid from a small town in Iowa who had dreams of playing basketball. Hawkins was a spectacular player for his high school and was offered a scholarship to play for the Bearcats in Maryville. At 6'7", Hawkins was a dominant force in the D2 world as soon as he started to get his feet under himself in the game. After taking a red shirt his freshman year and getting minimal playing time in his second season, Hawkins was more dedicated than ever to make his impact known on the court. In his official sophomore season, he bursted onto the scene while averaging 14 points, 8 rebounds a game, and 2 steals a game. Although the Bearcats would fall short of gold that year, the blueprint was made for success, and Hawkins and his teammates were ready to win. In his junior season, Hawkins took another step in his progression and averaged over 20 points a game while still averaging 8 rebounds and 2 steals a game. He became one of the leaders of the team as the Bearcats went all the way to the national championship and came home victorious this time after leaving empty-handed the year before. But Hawkins and the Bearcats were not done yet, as in his final season with the Bearcats, he would put up identical numbers to the previous season while leading the Bearcats to a third and final national championship as a Bearcat. Hawkins not only helped the Bearcats to 3 national championships, but he also won awards for the most outstanding player during the 2021 tournament and was an All-American that season as well. Hawkins had the opportunity to take a 5th year and move to Division I basketball, where he played for Creighton University, where in his final season, playing college basketball in his home state, he averaged 13 points, 8 rebounds, and 1 steal, showing that his game can translate throughout the divisions. After college, Hawkins had a couple stints on 2 summer league teams in the NBA. Hawkins etched his name into Bearcat record books during his time here and will always be remembered as a part of Bearcat history. For Bearcat Update, this has been Ryan King.
Thanks, Ryan. To close out Bearcats in the past, we're going to talk about a 2-sport athlete. Tyler Shaw was not only an All-American in track and field, but found himself a top-notch wide receiver. Throughout his career, he would break the Northwest records in the 60 and 110-meter hurdles, as well as over 3,000 all-purpose yards with over 30 touchdowns. It's one thing to be great at one sport, but to dominate 2 is what sets him apart from most. That's why in 2019, it was no shock that he found himself in the M Club Hall of Fame. But that's all the time we have for today. I'm your host, Jason Holland, and this has been Bearcat Update, the provider of complete coverage of Northwest sports. We are live every Sunday at 2, and you can find us on YouTube at KNWT TV. Along with Bearcat Update, you can watch KNWT's other content as well. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back in no time.